Hey, how's it going? Welcome to a special edition of Viewer's Choice. On this episode, I'm going to be doing a triple feature. So instead of just watching the one movie that won the poll, I decided to watch three because when I looked at the poll on Saturday, three of the films out of the four had 29% each. I know that's gone up now because I looked yesterday and Freaks was ahead at number one, but I thought, well, I've sort of come up with the idea now to do three films and do a triple feature, so that is what I've done. So I've just sat for the past few hours with a couple of little breaks in between and watched Freaks from 1932, Dress to Kill, and Battle Royale, all a part of the Viewer's Choice poll from the previous week, and they are all first time watches. So I don't know if you can believe that or not, but I've never seen any of these films. I'll get started in a sec. So yeah, we'll start with Freaks. So literally just watched Freaks. That was the last one I watched. It's a film from 1932, quite short at 66 minutes, directed by Todd Browning. I just watched the Sideshow Shockers version from the set, the Criterion Collection set. So I watched the Freaks disc. Yeah, and I must say, like, it's definitely of its time. You can tell. You have to really listen to the dialogue somewhat. I mean, it's easy to understand. It's just people did talk a little bit different and things like that. And but yeah, really interesting film, and like a very like bizarre take on the whole sideshow scene. So I'll do a quick breakdown of the synopsis. So basically, follows a group of sideshow attraction performers, part of a circus. The main characters are dwarves, Hans and Frida, who are a couple. Hans becomes quite besotted with Cleopatra, who is kind of mocking him to some extent. You know, she just sees him as like a little person and is exploiting him basically, and he's buying her gifts, and Frida's heartbroken, and it follows this sort of tale when Frida informs Cleopatra sort of accidentally that Hans has inherited a fortune. She becomes even more determined to sort of like marry him, and that's what happens. And there's this scene at the feast where they have the wedding feast, and the freaks start chanting, "One of us, you're going to be one of us," and singing the song to Cleopatra, and then she gets angry about that. She puts hands on her shoulders and prances around the table with the guy who, with the chap who plays the Roman guy in the circus. He plays like a Roman soldier. I do forget his name now. I'll try and see if Hercules is called in the film. So Hercules is kind of seeing Cleopatra as well. They're just exploiting Hans basically. Frida's heartbroken. The film also features the other freaks and shows a little bit of their story, like Frozo and his relationship with Venus, a woman who was with the Hercules and is a part of the sideshow, and it's got a lot of these strange characters. Like there's a guy without legs who basically maneuvers himself with his hands. All kinds of different like sideshow characters and things. What they would call freaks. I can imagine this being quite polarizing and let's say had like a divisive like opinion on it at the time. Like it must have been quite groundbreaking at the time in 1932. But yeah, but it's basically a love story pretty much. It tells the story of Hans and Frida. I found some of it a little bit slow. I did like the film a lot, and I think it was very well made. It looks good. They'd obviously got some good actors in there. Very different, very bizarre. I can also see where the horror series American Horror Story season 4 Freak Show, which I do like a lot as well, I can see where they exactly got their inspiration from. It's pretty obvious they got inspiration from this, because some of their plots from that season do hit notes that this film did, so they've obviously borrowed from this film Freaks. Anyway, back to Freaks. So at the end, basically, before I go into that, I will just say this whole episode basically will have spoilers. So if you don't want these films spoiled, don't listen, basically, because I'm going to be somewhat spoiling them. I won't spoil them completely, but I will cover certain notes of the narrative. So yeah, do prepare yourselves for that. So if you're okay with that, let's carry on. So basically, at the end, the freaks attack Hercules. They're in a cart. Cleopatra and Hans and the other freaks are in there, and Hercules is attacked in this brilliant scene with all the freaks emerging in the rain, in the mud, coming towards him. Holding blades and knives, things like that. That goes down. At the beginning of the film, it's a gentleman telling a story. So I'm just going to have a quick look at my notes, because I did write a couple of bits down as well, which helps me. So it starts off in the opening with the, I'll quote it, living, breathing monstrosities is what the chap says. And these people are looking at somebody, and it turns out they're looking at Cleopatra. So they tell this story of Hans, Cleopatra and Frida and the rest of the freaks, if you will, or sideshow people. At the end, it goes back to the person who's been telling the story, and basically they say, I wonder what she looked like before, and it shows Cleopatra. Basically, she's been mutilated and had her limbs removed, and she's got feathers and stuffed like a bird and wearing a silly costume and can't speak. Obviously, she's had something done to her, like vocal cords or what have you. So the freaks have literally made her one of them, which is very interesting, because at the wedding feast they were saying one of them. So that's the near enough the big finale of the film. And then it shows Hans obviously in a mansion because he's bought that with his inheritance. His butler lets in Frozzo, Venus and Frida. Frida proclaims her love for him, and it sort of ends with Hans like crying. He's a bit reluctant, and he's obviously feels guilt for what has happened to Cleopatra or what have you, or the mistake he's made and how he's treated Frida. And it ends with like Frida holding him. Like, really nice ending. Yeah, really good film, Freaks. I did enjoy that one. I'll rate it out of 5 stars. I'd give Freaks 4, so a 4-star for me. Yeah, breezed by, really. Relatively short film. Very interesting, bizarre, strange cast of characters. Very well made, well done, good costumes. The location where the freak show was set was great, with all the different caravans where the freaks live, and where their sleeping quarters and chambers. Yeah, really interesting film there from Todd Browning. Again, from 1932. So really, really old one. Black and white as well. That's my take on Freaks. So now we'll kind of go. I'm doing in a strange order because I watched Freaks last. I'll do the one that I watched first. So I watched Battle Royale. This was also a first time watch, as all of these 3 are. Battle Royale, directed by Kinji Fukasaku, from the year 2000. Bit longer, this one, at 122 minutes, so just a little bit over the 2-hour mark. I did know the concept of the movie prior, so I did have an idea of what it was about. And yeah, another interesting film. These are all really interesting films. I do have a favourite out of the 3. Don't know if you can guess that, but I'll talk about that at the end of this session. I'm just trying to find a few notes I made, because I did make a couple of notes on Battle Royale. But I can probably do it off the top of my head. I'm not seeing them at the moment. Let's have a little. You can probably hear me flicking through my notebook. Okay, so Battle Royale is set in the future, and it's obviously Japanese. It's foreign language film, so I had to watch in subtitles. There was no English dub. It follows this idea of this the BR Act, the Battle Royale Act, because of unemployment and the youth becoming sort of like disrespectful and not disrespecting the adults and their elders. They select a certain amount of high school students, basically take them against their will and get them ready to fight it out to the death on an uninhabited island. So this bus is going somewhere. The class wake up. They've been taken to this room. Their former teacher is there. He shows them a video. They're being told what Battle Royale is. There's 42 of them. They have to fight it out until there's one left standing. the winner of the battle royale will survive and go back to regular life. Obviously, the rest of them will perish. They have had a sort of a like an what did they have around their neck? It's kind of like they have this device around their neck, and if they try and like escape or tamper with it, or if they don't get out of certain areas when they're warned at certain times on the island, the device around the neck will detonate and basically they explode. The teacher actually does a demonstration in front of all of the students, and yeah, pretty gory stuff there. The guy's head just explodes. Really brutal fashion. They get chucked bags with different weapons in. Some of them have inferior weapons. Some of them have really useful weapons like axes, guns, knives, etc. Whatever you can think of. And yeah, all the students have to battle it out. And it has parts of the film where it shows different characters' backstory. You know, like things that have occurred in their life and what's led them to this event. And it all goes down really. A lot of violence, a lot of some great scenes. There's some sort of more rogue students in there. They have some outsiders, put in a couple of outsiders who weren't a part of their class. Basically, the young people put in there who are rather ruthless. One of them wears a suit and he takes out quite a lot. And yeah, thought it was a pretty brilliant film. I gave this one 4 stars out of 5 as well. So a lot of violence. It's basically about this new political act that's been brought in to keep the population down and curb unemployment, and also keep the youth in line and have them like respecting authority and the adults. And they fight it out until there's one left standing. They can't escape. They're on an uninhabited island, and yeah, thought it was and again another really well made film. Very interesting concept. I mean, you could see something like this with the wrong people in charge, like politically trying to do something like this in certain countries. Like, you know, it'd be absolutely awful having them fight it out. Like, but that's what this film's about, set in the future, like with this weird political act, the Battle Royale Act. And I'm also trying to think. I'm just trying to think. There's a couple of things I wanted to say about the film. Yes. Obviously, I've never watched these movies, but there's a series of films. Obviously, you've probably heard of them, called The Hunger Games, and obviously they've borrowed from Battle Royale, the concept somewhat, I'd imagine, because I know that's a similar. It's a book series as well. They've obviously took from Battle Royale, but it's more of a PG version. Yeah, really, really violent stuff. Yeah, it's got some grisly deaths in there. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. So 4 stars out of 5 for Battle Royale. We'll get to the final film now. So, well, it was the middle film that I watched, but the final film that I'm going to talk about, and that's Dressed to Kill from 1980, directed by Brian De Palma, who directed like Carrie, the Scarface starring Al Pacino, Phantom of the Paradise, Carlito's Way, Sisters. You know, he's done a bunch of films. He's done a bunch of like some gangster films, some like really strange movies. He's done horror, you know, scary stuff, suspense thrillers, you name it. And he's a phenomenal director, and it really shows in this film. This is definitely one of the best films I've seen from him, and I don't think I've actually seen a bad film from Brian De Palma. And I'm going to talk about this one a bit because I made a lot of notes on this because it was very, very interesting. And there will be some spoilers here, so do prepare yourselves for that. I would say this was my favourite out of the 3 that I watched tonight, out of Freaks Battle Royale and this one, Dressed to Kill. Dressed to Kill, I definitely connected with me as a viewer. I just found it really engaging, and there was never a dull moment. Like, it flew by. Great performances as well. Really well made film. So the narrative, basically, it starts off with let's have a quick look while putting the notes. So it's a very sexually charged beginning. It's like a sexual dream sequence involving this lady, Mrs. Miller, and subsequently she is slashed to death in an elevator. As it's happening, the elevator door opens with 2 people there. One of them is a prostitute, Liz, played by Nancy Allen, witnesses the murder. And then after that, the police interrogate her and make her the prime suspect because she grabs the killer's blade. The killer has the blade in the elevator, and she grabs a hold of it. The killer and the body of the murdered woman have gone, and then this maid in the hotel lobby sees Liz with the straight razor, and obviously he's telling the police that she saw that, and the police have her as the prime suspect, although it's pretty obvious they don't really suspect her because they do let her go for the time being. So she grabs the straight razors. Prime suspect. Michael Caine stars in the film and plays a great part as Dr. Elliot. He speaks to the police, and basically he's talking about how the murderer is one of his patients who he refused a sex change to because it obviously looks like a man dressed as a woman. She's a transsexual murderer, transsexual killer, wears shades, long coat, she's got a wig on. So the victim's son basically meets Liz, and they sort of like form like a plot, like they form sort of like a relationship, not a like sexual or loving relationship, but they begin to like talk to each other about what's been going on, and they cook up a plan to find out the killer's name by obtaining the psychiatrist Dr. Elliot, Michael Caine's character's appointment book. Liz seduces in an attempt to do this. She seduces Michael Caine. However, the killer is close by. Anyway, spoiler here. At the climax of the film, it turns out that the killer is actually Dr. Elliot. He's the transsexual and has split personalities. He has a male side, obviously himself, Dr. Elliot, and he has a female side who is Bob. Bob was denied a sex change, and it turns out that anybody who makes Dr. Elliot sexually stimulated, that being females, is condemned by him, and he tries to murder them. And then it goes into like a little extra bit. That's kind of like the main push. Nancy Allen tries to seduce him. Her character Liz goes to find his, says she's going to powder her nose, goes to find his appointment book. The murder victim, Mrs. Miller's son's outside watching, making sure she's safe and that. She goes to do that and she finds the appointment book. He's grabbed by somebody. He's looking outside, and it looks to be a female, so it looks to be the transsexual killer's got a hold of him. But then you see she comes back into the room, Liz does, into the psychiatrist's appointment room in his office, and then behind her is the actual transsexual murderer, who grabs her and goes to slash her with the straight razor, but then shots are fired through the glass, and he's taken out. It turns out that it's Michael Caine's character, Dr. Elliot, like I said, who's the transsexual killer. All is revealed, and it was a plan by the police who've been watching Liz all this time. They didn't really suspect her, but they just knew that they could possibly follow like a trail which would lead them to who was the actual killer. And then, of course, it has a brilliant scene in the hospital where a nurse goes to Dr. Elliot's where he's resting up because he's been shot in the sort of mental asylum in the hospital quarters, and he grabs her and he kills her. All the patients are watching from up above and clapping and jeering, and then he starts to undress her, and then he obviously like breaks out dressed as an female nurse in her clothing. Yeah, I thought this was a really good film. It's got a few twists and turns, really well made. Brian De Palma's got some great like ambitious shots, especially on the subway scene where Liz is trying to get away from the killer who's following her after she's got out of the cab and she's in the subway. She gets on the train. She's trying to also avoid this gang of guys who try and basically I think they were planning to rape her. They are obviously on there as well, and you've got the killers following her, and the killers manage to get onto the train, and it's just shot beautifully. It looks really good. It's a really like entertaining scene, and it's really gripping and shows like Brian De Palma's like skills as a director that does the subway scene. I mean, the whole film does, but there's a lot of ambitious shots in the film. Yeah, very ambitiously shot, this film. Like I said, starts with a relatively graphic nude shower dream sequence. All the way through, though, Brian De Palma shows his directing flair as always, and it's a well crafted murder tale. And for me, it didn't drag for a minute. It just flew by. Dressed to Kill, the others obviously, as I've told you, Freaks and Battle Royale, I did both rate 4 stars out of 5 stars. I just do ratings for a little bit of fun, just to mix things up a bit. Like, they're just my ratings, my personal opinion. Like, this one I rated a little bit higher. It was my favourite out of the three. Dressed to Kill from 1980, directed by Brian De Palma, starring Michael Caine. I rated 4.5 stars out of 5 stars, so nearly perfect marks. Loved this film. It was so interesting. And I've never seen Michael Caine in a role like this. Obviously, he was famous for films like The Italian Job, Zulu, all sorts of like films. He was in his later years like Children of Men, which was a good film. He had sort of like a side part in that, and he's been in other stuff. He did Harry Brown in the 2000s, I think it was, where he's that guy going after the youths in London who are attacking people and causing trouble. But anyway, to the point, I've never seen Michael Caine in a role like this, playing a transsexual murderer. Like, blew my mind. It was so random. I kind of thought it might have been Michael Caine's character, Dr. Elliot, who was the killer. At first I thought, oh, it's a killer then, is it, who wants to be a female? So I thought, it's going to be a big twist and reveal and be Michael Caine's character. But then as the film progressed, that idea kind of dissolved, and I didn't think at all. Initially I did, but then I thought, no, it won't be him. And then he'll be sort of like the protagonist, and then obviously it turns out to be him. So like, I was right at the beginning, but then I did lose that kind of idea. I did think, no, it won't be. And then it surprised me again, which is, fantastic and great. And yeah, really enjoyed it. And all the actors were good in it. All the actors and actresses played a great role. Really, really interesting, thrilling movie, Dressed to Kill. All three of them were fantastic. Like I say, Dressed to Kill was my favourite out of the three that I watched. It just had the most, oomph to it. It was just like, really like a really cool movie with interesting concepts and ideas. All of them had that, especially like Battle Royale. I mean, that's a great concept. The whole like students fighting it out to the death because of some political act that's been introduced. Yeah, three really well made, like brilliantly acted and shot, like clever films, and older films as well. Dressed to Kill's from 1980, so that's a really old one as well. And then Freaks 1932. Wow. So yeah, really enjoyed this viewer's choice. Like I said, not sure what the poll was on today. I think Freaks was the top one. I just decided on Saturday when I saw them all at 29%. I thought this is a good opportunity to talk about them, watch them all, because I've never seen them before. So it was a triple feature. I won't be doing this every week. I'll normally just do the one, but had a blast doing it. So there's my thoughts and reaction on the 3 movies that I've watched tonight. So it's been quite a movie heavy night, so I'm burnt out from watching films now, so I'm going to have a rest and stuff. Hope you enjoyed my thoughts and reactions on the 3 films anyway. Thanks for listening if you have and stopping by. That's awesome. I'm going to put 4 more films up soon in a poll for next week's viewer's choice, and the one that has the most votes I'll watch, and then I'll do a audio video. It's just audio, but I'll upload it as a video obviously on the YouTube channel, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. I'm just thinking of what to put. I've got a few interesting ideas for that one, so some interesting films which I've never seen before, so I'll let you guys can vote which one I watch. So that's it anyway. It went on a bit, this one, but yeah, thanks for stopping by. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video later on in the week.